It was a cold night 14 years ago in 1926. I attended a formal gathering hosted by Mrs. Peacock at her mansion in Hampshire, or that was how it was meant to be. Listened to my tale of murder, mystery, and money.
It is a fine evening, Mademoiselle Scarlett. I trust your journey was not too long?
It is indeed a pleasant night, Professor Plum. We couldn't have picked a better night to wine and dine. And not at all. How about you, travelling all the way from Paris just to be here for this one occasion?
The trip across the channel was rather rough. My Moe in 1922 was spilt all over my freshly steamed suit. Such a waste of fine French champagne.
Oh, hello, and good evening, Professor and Miss Scarlett. How'd you like my beautiful home? Have you seen the gardens? Do make sure you take a stroll around the gardens before you leave.
It is a very grand abode, madam, and thank you very much for inviting me. I will certainly take a stroll around the gardens before I leave.
Why, I was good friends with your late father, so inviting you was the natural thing to do. He was quite the dealer. Seems you are just a chip off the old block from what I've heard.
I just hope I can do my father proud and take the enterprise to higher levels. Professor, do you fancy a nice stroll around the gardens before Reverend Green's saying of grace?
Oh, I would love to take a stroll with you, Mademoiselle Scarlett. We shall see you and everyone else for dinner in the dining room at 6 o'clock. After dinner, do you plan to retreat to the study so we can discuss some more of your business plans?
Oh yes, Professor, that would be delightful. Right then, I shall see you both around the dinner table for 6 o'clock on the dot. Don't be late. I think you might like the meal tonight, Professor. We have a mixture of both French and English cuisine.
Oh, I cannot resist French haute cuisine. It is undeniably the best. Mwah! C'est magnifique!
The Professor and I enjoyed our walk around Mrs. Peacock's gardens. I was quite looking forward to the Reverend saying grace at dinner.
So, how are you coping with the death of your father? I express my deepest condolences. He was quite the entrepreneur with property development.
I'm still saddened by it, even though it was a year ago. I'm trying to keep his company together by collecting new contacts for investment opportunities.
Maybe I could help you. I was very friendly with your father. I have met many people in my time that can be of help to you. I know Colonel Mustard is present at this meeting. He has been in the trade for a while. Initially, he became a property developer to rebuild Europe after serving in the Great War in 1914. It's a shame many innocent and fine buildings were destroyed during the war. Maybe it's his way to come to terms with the horror. He has many European contacts that may interest you.
Maybe I'll do that. Thanks for the tip.
Hello, you two.
Bonsoir, Colonel. Miss Scarlett, this is Colonel Mustard. We were just talking about you. Talk about speaking of the devil.
Yes, the Professor was just saying you have many contacts that may help me to expand my father's... my property empire.
Indeed I do. I'll share them with you after dinner. Mrs. Peacock tells me that Mrs. White is an excellent chef. I'm ravenous.
What? What is that skulking around over there? I wouldn't be surprised if it's the Reverend Green. He was a very secretive person at college. Very strange for a vicar.
You and the Reverend went to college together?
He was very interested in me, but he seemed to close up when I tried to return the interest. It is funny, we both studied economics, and he's doing an occupation that's completely the opposite. Someone has to manage the church finances?
It's probably a foxes skulking around. They're very common in the countryside. Pay it no mind. I'm sure one of the groundskeepers will chase it off.
Speaking of foxes, why don't you come with us for our next hunt, Professor? Get some excitement in your life.
I will have to decline your offer, Colonel. Désolé. I know the war spirit may burn brightly in you, but books and study are my friends. And my tourist industry provides all the excitement I need.
It's barbaric hunting foxes. All they need is scaring off.
But can't you see that they're pests, destroying our agriculture? We can't keep on relying on imports from the British Empire. What if there's another war? What if we lose the Empire tomorrow? We need to be self-sufficient.
I don't think there will be another war. I think the world is still fearful of the war since 1918. We French are still recovering from the mental scars.
Oh, it's getting cold out here. Maybe we should go back into the drawing room. I need another glass of this wonderful champagne.
At least the foxes cannot get to the finest French grapes.
And don't forget who helped to liberate your vineyards, Professor.
Ah, oui. I am eternally grateful, Colonel. Now we can all enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Oh, good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to our fine banquet. I hope all your journeys were safe and uneventful. When you're ready, please proceed to the main hall where we will feast on our delicious banquet. But first, a quick prayer and grace from the Reverend. Reverend, when you're ready.
Where is the Reverend Green? I do remember seeing him come in.
Well, he should know where the dining room is. He's been here many times, I've heard. Maybe he's in the water closet.
Well, I've seen him loitering in the gardens earlier. Maybe he didn't hear the dinner bell. I'll just go and look for him.
I hope he has not gone too far. I am ravenous. In the meantime, did any of you hear about the flooding of the Rhine? I am so glad I did not invest in the industry of Cologne. Those German Huns deserve every misfortune for destroying my father's business during the war.
And for killing my comrades, the filthy Huns.
Don't be so hard on the Germans, you two. They're not all bad. In wartime, most of them were just doing their job and following orders like you were, Colonel. And you did receive your compensation, Professor. They are a very industrious people trying to rebuild their country for a brighter future.
You can't compare me with a Hun.
The war finished 8 years ago. It's history and old news. Let it go, Colonel. Remember what Reverend Green has taught us, to forgive and forget. Germany is a much better place now, according to my contacts. We should be more worried about domestic affairs, like that radio programme that caused havoc in London.
I am not familiar with that story. Please, tell me more.
Catholic priest, Father Ronald Knox, interrupted a debate with a report that Big Ben had been toppled by trench mortars. The Savoy Hotel was torched, and a government minister got lynched. It almost caused a revolution. Some took Knox's satire very seriously. I was worried myself, thanks to bad weather delaying delivery of the next day's papers. Rural listeners like myself have prolonged reason to assume the capital was in flames. I even rushed to the capital to check on my properties and interests. Could you imagine if we had another civil war? We could lose our empire overnight.
I remember that. It's a shame that it was a fake. I'd relish the opportunity to fight again for king and country and keep our mighty empire together. More campaign medals to my collection. Maybe even get recognition from King George. I only found out when I attempted to re-enlist that it wasn't happening. I may be an old veteran, but I cannot ignore a call of duty. I'll never watch our great nation that I fought to save be turned into a farce.
That is you English all over. We French would never believe such a scandal. You cannot believe everything you hear and jump to conclusions. I would be more worried about the radio station involved. They will not be trusted now. We should be worried about that new Greek leader, Theodoros Pangalos. This might be bad for my Greek holdings.
Why would that be bad, Professor? Like you said, you can't believe everything you hear. He might end up being a good leader for Greece.
He removed freedom of speech, which means my tourist clients have to be careful what they say. They might be prosecuted, and I will lose business if people do not come to Greece. It depends on your point of view. If you agree with Pangalos' law and vision, that is fine. If not, then, well...
I find it amusing that he created a law that says women's skirts shall not be more than 12 inches above the ground. That's about 30 centimetres to you, Professor. He's such a funny fellow.
Tell me more about businesses in Greece, Professor. I'm intrigued.
Ah, oui. Tourism is very lucrative in Greece. Visit sunny islands and its proud history. Maybe it's something you should...
Has the Reverend come back? He's not in the gardens.
No, there is.
If you saw him in the gardens, he may have retreated to the conservatory to water the plants. Very thoughtful if he did. I will go and have a look. Miss Scarlett, when I return, I will tell you more about my Greek connection, which you may find very useful.
So Professor Plum left the room to go down to the conservatory. I was looking forward to the Professor coming back so he could tell me more of his pearls of wisdom.
I hope the professor finds him because this food's getting cold and I'm getting hungry. Maybe we should eat without him?
And choke on an unholy piece of food, and it would be rude if we started without the Professor and Reverend Green.
Well, I'm glad we have the Locarno treaties recently signed to improve Western European relations after the shambles of the Treaty of Versailles.
I agree. Germany should not be harshly punished like they were at Versailles. Otherwise, they might rearm and go out for revenge. Accusing them of total responsibility for starting the war was taken completely out of context. It's that madman's fault for assassinating Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Good gracious me! What on earth was that noise?
Well, it sounded like it came from the conservatory. Maybe we should have a look, Miss Scarlett. Everyone else, you may start the dinner if the Professor and the Reverend return before us.
Hey, but soon. I'm hungry. You sure you ladies will be fine on your own?
I'm sure us girls will be fine. One of us will run back if we get into trouble.
Or scream.
So we went to investigate the conservatory.
They're not here. My roses have been trampled. I spent all day arranging them for tonight.
Hold on. What's that down near the roses? I was horrified with what I saw in the roses. I saw the Professor's ripped blue tie along with a large crucifix necklace covered in blood. This made me feel uneasy.
This is very disturbing. I do hope they're both all right. That sounded like it came from the billiards room.
Maybe we should get some help from the dining room.
Well, what if someone in the billiards room's in trouble? They may need our help now. There are two of us. If there's trouble, one of us can run for assistance.
Right, let's go. Oh my goodness, Professor, Reverend, can you hear me? What I saw was gruesome. I saw the Professor lying on the floor in a pool of crimson blood, flowing from a deep cut in the back of his head. The Reverend was hanging limply through a noose, a Bible lying on the floor as if he'd dropped it after he hanged himself. A broken glass candlestick was scattered around the Professor. I picked up the Bible, and a note fell out of it. The note was difficult to read, as it was nothing more than a scrawl, as if it was written quickly.
Well, what does the note say?
I think we had better go to the dining room. This is something everyone will want to hear about. So we went back to the dining room with the note.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. There has been a murder. We've discovered this note. I think it's something that we will all want to hear, so if you would be so kind as to listen.
This note was found in Reverend Green's Bible. It says, "Dear all, I am sorry that it has come to this. I must admit that I have been envious of the Professor for quite some time. We went to college together. He always looked up to me for advice and guidance as he was a foreign student. I always helped him when he asked for help in a foreign land. When we graduated, he stole the woman of my dreams away from me because he could give her the world. I was so angry and jealous for a time. That is why I turned to God to help me get over it and find another path to heaven, the riches and treasure that I will procure in winning the hearts and minds of others. When I saw the Professor all alone, we had a discussion which turned sour. He rekindled my anger by going on about his success and how happy my girl is. I don't know what came over me. Maybe Satan possessed me. I saw red in a fit of jealousy. I have sinned in killing the defenceless Professor in cold blood with the candlestick in the billiards room. But let this be a warning to you all that there are needy people out there with feelings too. May God forgive my sin and bless the poor and needy."
Dear,
Dirty
dear, dear,
blackguard.
dear.
So that was it. Reverend Green murdered Professor Plum for the evils of wealth and out of jealousy. It is a great shame I never did find out about Professor Plum's Greek contacts. Cluedo Murder Mysteries was produced by Jake Shears, directed by Lianne Bacon, recorded and edited by Alice Guy and Janet Anukam, starring Janet Marshall as Miss Scarlett, Enzo Perzuvio as Professor Plum, Sue Toogood as Mrs. Peacock, and Tony Fielding-Raby as Colonel Mustard.